Bonjour mes amis, hi guys. I was watching along with some friends the live auction by Philips, the Geneva watch auction number 11 last weekend, and some prices raised some eyebrows. You might have seen the video from Paul Thorpe discussing why two Rolex in current production were fetching higher prices than what we've seen on the secondary market recently. So yeah, many people have many theories, and we are free to discuss it. Paul thinks Rolex bought these. I think it would be absolutely silly. I know Paul comes up with very bizarre theories, but that one is it's next level because these watches, the Bad Girl and the Pepsi, are already fetching high premiums. Rolex can't satisfy demand. The hype is there already. They don't really need to go and buy these in an auction, in a public auction, and take a huge risk of being discovered if they did. So my initial instinct was that these were simply purchased by a watch dealer, say, you know, Watchfinder in the UK. If I was them and I was sitting on a pile of these, I would use this very public platform to spruce up the interest and to spike the prices and manipulate the conscience a bit of the watch buying public. Maybe that's a bit too dark. Maybe it's simply a guy who was buying himself an F. Pigeon and a Patek for millions of dollars and just thought he'd get some toys for his nephews. But usually, as Paul Thorpe rightfully points out, rich people know what they're doing. And if you're that rich, usually you can walk into Rolex and get any model that you want because you've probably bought some gold pieces there. So there again, doesn't really make much sense. And then the darker theory, and we've seen other prices. There's an F. Pigeon chronometre resonance, beautiful watch, difficult to get, yes, not made in high volumes, obviously. But when it reaches a million Swiss francs, you start to wonder, is this watch collecting reaching an extreme, or is this something darker? Is this possibly money laundering? Many people are thinking that. And Paul Thorpe thinks, these auctions are under the scrutiny of tax authorities. It's poor place for someone to launder money. I'm not quite sure. I think auctioneers, probably just like banks, asset managers, have to do some due diligence about the buyers, but there's only so much you can do. And the origin of funds is very hard to establish. I think criminals can easily set up shell companies or have someone purchase things for them. It's shady, and a lot of wealth in the world has been made on the suffering of others and the pillaging of wealth. And when you see politicians in controversial regimes wearing Richard Mille watches and just rare pieces and such, how is that any different from money coming from arms deal and drug trafficking? So I don't want to get too dark either, or put a shadow on these auctions, because the work done by Philips is amazing, and Aurel Bax is such a great auctioneer. What stamina does he have to go through so many lots? Just scrolling through them, I'm getting tired. But the auctioneer can only do so much to establish the origin of the funds, and they're going to be under the scrutiny of the taxes. But a buyer, I don't believe so exactly. And by the way, these prices are not even the prices paid by the buyer. They have on top of it to pay the auctioneer's fee, which is very high. So a friend of mine who partially owns one of these is delighted to see this crazy price. He would take half of $1 million. The dollar is at parity with the Swiss franc, pretty much. So million Swiss francs, pretty much $1 million. He would take half of that for his watch. Absolutely crazy. So hopefully this is gone to a collector. But you can't help to think that some of these prices here are just so crazy. that it's watches have become fairly liquid. There's such an interest. It's easy to buy it here and sell it back somewhere else, and yeah, doing so laundering the money in a fairly quick, efficient way. And in the end, doing it under everyone's nose is maybe even easier than trying to do it in a more um, masked fashion. Let's just scroll through this because there were some beautiful watches, obviously from the Jean-Claude Biver collection, like this World Time there. I hope you're enjoying my very lo-fi video, filming my own phone. It's interesting to see those old watches. We're going to see a couple of watches from the 40s or late 30s with similar dials, and reminds us that back then, watchmakers were putting their brand on, there were dial makers, and there were caliber makers, and there were case makers, and the brands were just buying around. Now everything has to be in house to be to have any sort of a respectability in the watch world. Things have really changed a lot. But Vacheron was known, the oldest operating watch company. It's known as a great finisher of movements, not as a maker of movements. They would collaborate with Patek and JLC, and JLC would make their movements quite often up until recently. So it's interesting to see these old watches. So here is the Pepsi going at 33,000 at the auctioneer's fee. Is the craziest price. So either it's somebody crazy, somebody having a love, somebody having too much money, or there is a sinister motive behind this. 25,000. That seems a lot like. Oh yeah, but this one is there's something rare about this one. Yeah, the caseback, I believe. Seeking. Yeah, it's a Seeking. John Player Specials remind me of F1 races of my childhood. If you are 40 years old and up, you might know what I'm talking about. Some more run-of-the-mill Pateks. There you go. All sorts of beautiful watches. Really a long auction. Let me know what you think in the comments. I think it's always fun to discuss this. It's just chatter stuff, we're like old ladies. And here is the 1958 Rolex Submariner 6538, the granddaddy of the watch I've been wearing the most in the past month. This is the Rolex you can really enjoy without too much fear of scratching it. I scratched it on a little signpost at IKEA, buying an IKEA hot dog the other day. Love those hot dogs. $10, 10 Hong Kong dollar, 10 Hong Kong dollar. Some crazy watches in this auction. You gotta love 2.6 million here for this beautiful, perfect. This is perfection, right? Big crown, perfect symmetry. Patek. So this is the 2499 from the Jean-Claude Biver collection. I'm sure he's got many beautiful watches still in his collection. But this was really, really impressive. Look at this beautiful pink dial here. Yeah, great auction. So do download the app. I did it last weekend to follow the action. Was very interesting. Great app, by the way. You can see everything live. There's some longer. So it's interesting to see that some modern watches sometimes still in production, are going to auction, where you would mostly expect to see vintage, rare pieces. And yeah, fun also to see, go back in time. Remember that Ulysse Nardin also did these bicompax type of chronographs in the 40s, and I'm looking forward to see the Longines tuxedo dial version that just came out, very similar to this. It's from the Heritage collection, which looks very much which is a reissue of their chronograph from the 40s. We'll do a video about that one. Maybe I'll buy one actually. I have to see it in the metal. It's a bit thick. And yeah, it reminds us that look at this kind of dial. You would see that often across the brands. back in the 40s, 50s, before everybody needed to make their own pieces, because there's only so many ways, I guess, you can make a watch, right? All right, let me know what you think in the comments. Enough with this little chatter. Let's speak about Tudor later on today, as they are releasing a blue version of this very watch. I think it's very smart of them. Bye bye.